Hello, world. Well, today through Wednesday, we're going to be hearing from John chapter 3 in the Gospels for Mass. This basically comes from Jesus' conversation with Nicodemus, so get comfortable. Um, but today, let's just take a brief minute to make a quick overview of the times that Nicodemus shows up in John's Gospel. He only shows up 3 times. And here is the first time that he shows up here in John chapter 3, and he comes to Jesus by night. He's said to be a ruler of the Jews, and similar to St. Paul, Nicodemus also happens to be a Pharisee. And here in this initial encounter, there seems to be some openness to our Lord Jesus. Nicodemus says, "Rabbi, we know that you are a teacher who has come from God, for no one can do these signs that you are doing unless God is with him." This coming from God is very much, as we see, a point of contention between Jesus and the other Pharisees and leaders throughout John's Gospel. Now, the second time that Nicodemus is mentioned by name is in John chapter 7, verse 50, in Jerusalem at the Feast of Tabernacles. And during this visit, some try to arrest Jesus because he claims that he was sent by the Father. So the Pharisees, they sent guards to arrest him, but those guards then returned empty-handed, saying, "Never before has anyone spoken like this one." And then we actually hear Nicodemus himself challenging his Pharisee brothers, saying, "Does our law condemn a person before it first hears him and finds out what he is doing?" Remember this in the context of the earlier encounter with Jesus in chapter 3. Nicodemus had already confessed a personal belief that Jesus was a teacher who had, in fact, come from God. Though we could argue that there isn't much indication of a much deeper of a conversion of Nicodemus at this point. Although we do see that he's at the very least willing to challenge his own Pharisee brethren and stand up for Jesus here in this situation. And finally, the third time that we see Nicodemus come on the scene is right after our Lord's crucifixion. He comes with 100 pounds of myrrh and aloes, and he and Joseph of Arimathea take Jesus' body, they prepare it, and then they bury Jesus. Certainly, this is a favorable act of mercy and charity, and it was expressed at a time that would have probably been very risky, considering that all the apostles, they were soon locked away and in hiding. So does Nicodemus now firmly believe that Jesus was in fact sent by God, and is he willing to commit his entire life to that? Though the scriptures are silent about Nicodemus's convictions here, other than showing us this act of charity that he performed, tradition does tell us that he eventually became a member of the Christian community. Now, in light of all this, I would like to propose one question for us to reflect on today. When you see a prompting from God, perhaps a prompting to do something good and charitable, how long does it take you to fully commit and actually do that good that you are being asked? It seems like Nicodemus took a very long time to fully commit to following Jesus wherever he leads. And we can do the same thing and hold back for a long time in our daily actions. And I would propose that during this time of quarantine, there are surely many repeated opportunities for us to exercise our charity towards those who are closest to us. And perhaps we've been holding off on some of those acts of charity. Don't hesitate to act on the Lord's promptings. Trust that the Lord desires to bring great spiritual fruit out of whatever situation we are in. Fully commit to following the Lord's promptings of charity each and every day, regardless of any discouragement or resistance that we may encounter along the way.